a problem is when I talk about you guys being a cult of lies and loving lies. I mean, think about this one issue. For decades, the Dawah guys said perfect preservation, dot for dot, letter for letter, since the time of Muhammad. That was a lie. That was a complete lie. Muslims loved it. They loved being lied to. When did they get mad? They got mad when Yasser Qadi admitted the truth for 5 seconds of his life. Yep. When he finally, for 5 seconds of his life, admitted the truth, that there are holes in the narrative. You hated him for it. He almost got like blacklisted from the Ummah for telling you the truth for 5 seconds. That's what your group is like. And here you have this is why they're defending it. What are you doing? You're lying. This is not our defense of the Bible. If we were to give you a defense of the reliability of the Bible, it would not be, oh, your book says it. This is pointing out a problem for you. So right now you're lying. Your fans are loving it. And guess what? The next video
Textual variance in the Quran has been a long-standing yet often overlooked topic within Islamic discourse. For years, Islamic scholars and leaders have maintained the claim that there is only one unchanged, perfectly preserved version of the Quran. However, this narrative has increasingly come under scrutiny. Despite evidence of multiple textual variants and different Quranic readings, many within the Muslim community have either been unaware of this reality or have been misled regarding its significance. The insistence that all Quranic copies are identical does not align with the documented existence of various versions and readings. This matter remained largely suppressed until prominent Islamic scholar Sheikh Yusuf Karim publicly addressed it. His admission sparked considerable backlash and discomfort within the Muslim community, as it was particularly jarring to hear such revelations coming from a respected figure within their own ranks. Interestingly, while criticisms are frequently directed at the Bible for having multiple versions and translations, there seems to be an unwillingness to apply the same level of scrutiny to the Quran. The prevailing claim that there is only one Quran, unchanged and universally consistent, is challenged by the reality of these textual differences. Yet, the broader conversation around this subject remains limited, raising the question, why is this not being openly discussed?
It's not Dawah Over Dunya. It's Dawah Over Dunya.
Yeah, these guys are actually, they need to have t-shirts that says, Allah is Da'if, because they don't trust anything he says in the Quran. They throw it all out. Allah is Da'if.
Probably the most common cop-out of Christian missionaries is their attempt of trying to prove that...
Everyone catch that? This is how you start a video.
Probably the most common cop-out of Christian missionaries is their attempt of trying to prove that the...
His followers are like, they go crazy about that stuff.
Wow.
Oh wow, that's a great point. Well, this is Lily J level. You're almost as good as Lily J with your facial reactions. Thank you for being so much like Lily J.
Probably the most common cop-out of Christian missionaries is their attempt of trying to prove that the Qur'an somehow affirms one of the many canons and versions of the Bible, in an attempt to try to avoid discussing the obvious corruption of the Bible.
Nope, already wrong.
Yeah, is that what we're trying to do here?
So let's be clear. Our claim is very clear. We're saying that Muhammad confirms the canon of the Bible that existed in Arabia in the 7th century, in his region, in his area. That canon, okay? Very specific, that canon. Because we know what that looked like. So it's not, just a version, right, of like, a version of a biblical canon or something. No, very specific. The 7th century canon that, the Jews would have had for the Torah, and that the Christians would have had for the Torah and for the Injil. Simple. That's it.
And Dawah Over Dunya, in case you don't understand, he thinks this is apparently us trying to avoid the issue of corruption of the Bible. One, we don't believe the Bible's been corrupted. We believe there are variants, there are scribal errors, there are issues that need to be addressed by textual critics to try and figure out what reading goes back to the original and so on. Guess what? You have the exact same issue With the Quran, the difference is your leaders lie to you about it. They lie to the average Muslim population about it. They lie about it. Our scholar, you can go to any Bible that you buy in a bookstore. You can go to any Christian bookstore and find books on textual criticism. You can pick up any Bible and it will have, unless it's just one that for some reason doesn't include notes or something like that. Any Bible that includes notes, it will have notes at the bottom telling you about manuscript differences. Why? Because we don't lie about this in the Christian community. So textual variants do not mean that your book is corrupt in the way you say corrupt. If it is, then the Quran is corrupt. So take your pick. If you're saying that textual variants mean that a book is corrupt, then the Quran is corrupt. As far as the issue of this being us trying to avoid talking about the Bible, this is just amazing. So, Giant DOC, this would be like if we said, hey, Jesus is born of a virgin, and a Muslim came up to me and said, ha, stop lying, Jesus wasn't born of a virgin, he had a normal birth, you liars. My response to a Muslim would not be, let me give you a philosophical and theological defense of the virgin birth. My response to a Muslim would be, you're not allowed to say that, you're a Muslim. You're required to believe in the virgin birth. It's part of your religion.
That's a cope.
Yeah, and he would be saying, so if, here's the thing, guys, because this is exactly what it's like. Everyone watching, get your minds around this issue because Dawah Over Dunya doesn't understand it, and chances are neither do any of his fans. When you guys come to us and say, your Bible's been corrupted, and we say, actually, you might need to look at what your book says, because your book says that our book hasn't been corrupted. Your book affirms the inspiration, the preservation, and the authority of our book. And they go, oh, you're trying to avoid the issue of the corruption of the... No, we're telling you what you guys are required to believe as Muslims because you don't know. You don't know. You haven't read your book. And the people who have, they lie about it. They twist it. So, or imagine someone comes to me and says, Jesus or if it's a Muslim who comes to me and says, you say Jesus rose from the dead, but he couldn't rise from the dead because people don't rise from the dead, and that would be a miracle, and miracles don't occur. Yep. In that situation, my response would not be a defense of miracles, a defense of the existence of God, or a historical case for the resurrection of Jesus. My response would be, what do you mean people don't rise from the dead? They rise from the dead even according to the Quran. And you can't say miracles don't occur because according to the Quran, miracles occur. So if you want to leave Islam and come back as an atheist or an agnostic and use that objection, fine. If you're a Muslim using an objection that contradicts your own sources, I'm going to call you on it. We're just going to call you on it. And the issue with the Islamic Dilemma is, for many decades, most people haven't been calling Muslims on when they say, oh, your Bible's been corrupted. And they go, oh, okay, let's go to textual criticism to show you that it hasn't been corrupted. We will explain to you what textual criticism is, how it works, so that you understand what's going on here. That's been the Christian response. But that should have been the follow-up response. The primary response should have been, you're not allowed to say our book's been corrupt because your God and your prophet affirm our book. So if you want to come back as atheists and agnostics, then you can raise that objection. But as Muslims, you can't. And so you would kind of deal with that, get to the bottom of that, and then show that you actually have a super solid case for the reliability of the New Testament. So Dawah Over Dunya, two possibilities. Our book is reliable and preserved well, and so, or it's been corrupted and the doctrines have been changed. So somewhere in there, guess what? It doesn't matter what goes on in there. Your religion is false. Your religion has to be false because if the Bible's completely reliable, as your book says, then our book contradicts your book, and so your religion falls apart. On the alternative, if our book is corrupt and so on, then your book falls apart because your book affirms our book in an uncorrupt form that we still have. Meaning, if our book is corrupt, then your book is wrong. So either way, your book is wrong. That's a problem. And all these response videos is, what do they call it? Cope?
Yeah, cope.
Oh, this is a Christian. Dude, you are so far behind the times. You have no idea what's coming at you, man. You have no idea what's coming at you. Right.
Yeah. You know who else could run the Islamic Dilemma? Bart Ehrman.
Bart
Ehrman could run the Islamic Dilemma, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So Muslims wouldn't know what to do with that. They'd be like, but you said the Bible was corrupt.
Watch. Hey,
like,
Dawah Over Dunya. Just to make this clear to you, sometime in the next several months, you will see atheists running this argument. Atheists who do not believe in the Bible will run the exact same argument, and they will say, hey, I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe in the Quran, and I don't believe in the Bible. But the Quran affirms the Bible, and the Bible contradicts the Quran. So, and they will make the exact same argument, and therefore, what are you going to say? Oh, it's coping. They're trying to avoid defending the Bible. They're atheists. They don't believe in the Bible. What are you talking about? They can run the exact same argument we're running, dude. Why? Because it's an argument. It's a problem in your religion. It's a problem in your religion.
And of course, we all know why these Christian missionaries have to appeal to the Qur'an, because it's not like they can appeal to their own scholarship, who openly write books titled The Text of the New Testament, Its Transmission, Corruption, and Restoration. Bruce M. Metzger, conservative scholar. So
did we want to go through that again?
You know what? This might be a good time to bring up his first response.
I mean, if I'd spent decades of my life preaching Christianity, trying to convert people to Christianity, and after all those years, I literally only had one argument to prove the Bible was reliable, naturally, I'd want to defend that argument to the bitter end.
Dude, that's not our argument for the reliability of the Bible.
We've got scholars since before your Muhammad came about the Bible.
Yeah.
We don't need your little Quran for the Bible's reliability.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
even the book that he put on the screen, Metzger's book that he put on the screen, that's not an attack on the Bible. They look at the title and they don't understand what words mean, and they think that's an attack on the reliability. That is not an attack on the reliability of the Bible. That's to show how textual criticism restores the original. It's meant to show how reliable the New Testament is. And you guys are too stupid to realize. Look at his face, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good place to pause it.
He looks like he's constipated. I'm sorry.
So anyway, just to be clear, and by the way, here's the funny thing. Dawah Over Dunya. What we're pointing out, the way you're saying, is factually false right now. Right now. This is not our attempt to defend the Bible. Your book agreeing with our Bible is zero defense of the Bible, except with your community too. And the only point of bringing it up to your community is it exposes a problem that is built into your religion. Namely, your book affirms books that contradict that. Leave Islam. That has done nothing to defend our book. Why? Because an illiterate 7th century Arabian caravan robber saying something positive about our book is not evidence that our book is the truth.
Right.
If you actually wanted to know why we can trust the Bible, the text of the New Testament, it would be the same way you would show that you could trust the text of the Quran. You'd go to textual criticism, show that it's been well preserved, and so on. What would happen in that case is you would run into textual critics who use the word corruption for any change in the manuscripts and so on. Those same textual critics would say, aha, here's how we can spot when errors arose, and here's how we can get back to the original reading. They do that. They would do that with the Bible. They would do that with the Quran. The difference is in Islam, you guys would just, if you found differences, you would burn them all or toss them in a river, or you just come up with some rule. Okay, well, we'll accept these 7, but reject all the others. You just make things up, and then you lie and pretend that there are no variants and so on. If you seriously don't understand how much of a problem is when I talk about you guys being a cult of lies and loving lies, I mean, think about this one issue. For decades, the Dawah guy said perfect preservation, dot for dot, letter for letter, since the time of Muhammad. That was a lie. That was a complete lie. Muslims loved it. They loved being lied to. When did they get mad? They got mad when Yasser Qadhi admitted the truth for 5 seconds of his life. Yep. When he finally, for 5 seconds of his life, admitted the truth, that there are holes in the narrative. You hated him for it. He almost got like blacklisted from the Ummah for telling you the truth for 5 seconds. That's what your group is like. And here you have this. This is why they're defending it. What are you doing? You're lying. This is not our defense of the Bible. If we were to give you a defense of the reliability of the Bible, it would not be, oh, your book says it. This is pointing out a problem for you. So right now you're lying. Your fans are loving it. And guess what? The next video you make, you'll lie again because you don't care and your fans don't care, and you are a cult of lies and deception. And literally everything you say proves it. Dawah Over Dunya, in case you've never encountered this. The way textual critics use the word corruption is not what you mean by it's not what you mean by corruption.
Bruce Metzger, in the same book I referenced in my original video, points out what all scholarship has agreed upon.
Well, he pointed out there's a different book. I guess someone must have called him out, like, oh no, it's not the same book. Because if you saw the little text flashing on the screen, he's a different book. So. Okay,
and it says the internal evidence of the so-called intermediate ending is decidedly against its being genuine. What? Why? Wait, what? What would be the point? What? This is exactly what we were saying. This is what textual criticism is. You line up all the manuscripts. You look at any variants, and you can say, oh, this is the earliest reading. This reading comes out in the 7th century or something like this. Since this reading only arises in the 7th century, and all the earlier readings say this, so we could say that one probably, the later readings probably not true. What's he doing?
That's his punchline. That's it.
No, he's got a big surprise. He's gonna quote David, and David's supposed to refute himself. It's supposed to be one of these like self-rebuttal kind of things that he's got. We'll see how that goes. But I just want to comment on his editorial kind of style and process here. Like, you finish your video and it's only like a minute long, and you notice that you said in the audio that it's the same book. So instead of going back to the audio and editing that, he just writes in the text for like a brief second. Different book.
He's lazy.
Like with an asterisk
hang on.
or something like that. Like, dude,
if your video is only a minute and 40 some second, why wouldn't you just re-record the video? Did you lose your smugness for some reason? So here's the issue. If you hear, and you don't know, and you hear textual critics talking about textual variants and so on, you go, oh my goodness, is the book corrupted? Can we not trust it? Then we put an interview up on the actual screen where he's being asked this. Wait, you got all these textual variants. Does this mean the book has been corrupted and we can't trust it anymore? He says, no, not what it means at all. And he explains it. So here's the thing. Dawah Over Dunya now knows, since he watched our response, Dawah Over Dunya now knows what corruption means, according to textual critics, and he knows what Metzger's position actually is, that all this shows the Bible is reliable. And now he's trying to make it sound like Metzger is saying, nope, your book's been corrupt, can't be trusted. So at first we could have thought you were just ignorant, right? You say, oh, I see the word corruption. And we don't have to think you're being dishonest. You just have no clue how textual critics use the word. You're ignorant. So what happened? We informed you. But now it looks like, I haven't seen the rest of the video, but it looks like you're doing the exact same thing now that you know. It means you're doing it knowingly. It means you know that you're lying right now.
Keep in mind that there's like roughly 140,000 words in the Greek New Testament. 140,000 words. Metzger says that if we were to sit down and say, hey, this is what the original New Testament would say, we would only disagree on about 12 to 24 out of 140,000 places, right? And he's not saying like, oh, it's like, okay, is it like this? Or like, did Mark originally write this word or did he write that word? It's not like a third option or fourth option. It's like it's one of those two. So the original is not lost. It's there. The question is like, is it in the appendix or is it in the main text, right? It's there. So God's preserved his word. Even Bart Ehrman says, yeah, we would probably disagree on about like 12 to 24 things, but he's still saying that the original is there somewhere.
The same Bruce Metzger, in his book, The New Testament, Its Background, Growth, and Content, points out that the four Gospels are anonymous, meaning it doesn't matter how much of the message you think has been changed. Okay, so let's review. Muslims believe the Bible's corrupted.
Wait,
Christian scholars...
What's that?
That's not what Metzger said. He didn't say meaning doesn't... it doesn't matter how much of the message you think has been changed. That's not what Metzger says. Just because Metzger... So when scholars, again, when they talk about something being anonymous, they just mean that there's not like a self-reference in the text itself. They don't mean that they're like, oh, we have no idea who wrote this. Like Simon Gathercole notes that Josephus in Antiquities of the Jews, for example, never makes a self-reference to him. Like he doesn't put like his name on there. Like, but everybody knows that that's Josephus. Mm-hmm. So, but it's technically anonymous because he doesn't like say, oh, this is by Josephus, or it makes like a self-reference. So that's what they mean. But like what I was like when David was saying the gospel according to Mark, the reason why I was saying emphasis on that, why, is because every single manuscript of Mark that we have says the gospel according to Mark on it. So the early church everybody knew and you know, and you might there are even some scholars that say like, you know, maybe that's actually original to Mark. Like he actually, you know, some of them even argue that because every single manuscript has it. So we don't have evidence that like the original wouldn't have had that. But whatever the point is that anonymous doesn't mean like
That nobody knows.
yeah, when scholars use that term. Now, of course, there are some scholars who do say things like, you know, we don't know, right? We don't know. But I think Michael Kona, his one of his students or a colleague or something like that, they went over like all of the scholarly views of Mark from believing, or what they call confessional scholars and non-confessional scholars, so whether they believe in the Bible or not. And the vast majority of them believe that Mark is the one who authored it, for Mark specifically. Even the unbelievers, they I think the percentages were like incredibly high. So again, just not understanding.
Yeah, and look at even what it actually says. What he points to, because guess what? None of his followers are actually ever going to read this. It's not going to happen. They're just going to, oh, it says anonymous, you see, right? What's it actually say? The text itself of each gospel is anonymous. The text itself of each gospel is anonymous, and its title represents what later tradition had to say about the identity of the author. So you have people saying who these are coming from. He's saying the text itself. In other words, once you start at verse 1 and you keep reading, the text never says, oh, and by the way, I am Mark who is writing this. So what you have is other people saying this is who wrote this. Guess what? We know, since Muslims won't understand this. Okay, guys, if I go to Surah 9 of the Quran. Just pick one. If I go to Surah 9 of the Quran, how do I know that's part of the Quran? Like, how do I know that this is something revealed to Muhammad during this time?
Well, Sajid will tell you it's because the color of the page.
Yeah. So anyway, the point is this: where does it say? And this is the beloved text that was delivered to Muhammad on this situation. You would know that from other outside sources. It's nothing internal to the text that tells you what's going on here and how this is being delivered to Muhammad from the angel Gabriel. Okay, so where does pick a surah? Just where does, let's say, Surah 9 say that this is given by Allah to the angel Gabriel, to Muhammad in this situation, and is to be included where?
Oh, I see what you're saying. It doesn't have to say it in itself.
Yeah. It's you would say, oh, this is what was compiled in here, and this is how we know. But the point is, what he's saying, it's not internal to the text. It's not internal to the text that it's saying this. It's from outside the text that's telling you what this is. And so, okay, so you could pick all kinds of passages and chapters from the Quran that don't tell you, hey, this is supposed to be in here, and this is something that was revealed to Muhammad in this situation, and so on. Let's see. All right, let's let Dawah Over Dunya finish this little bit here.
Meaning it doesn't matter how much of the message you think has been changed. Okay, so let's review. Muslims believe the Bible's corrupted. Christian scholarship acknowledges reality, which is that the Bible contains forgery and is therefore corrupted. David himself acknowledges the Bible contains forgery and is therefore corrupted. But somehow, David, you still don't want to just own up to the Bible being corrupted. Hence why, despite spending decades attacking Islam and the Qur'an, you find yourself dependent on the Qur'an to try to prove the Bible is reliable.
Oh boy.
Well, again, our pointing out that the Quran affirms the Bible is not our attempt to defend the reliability of the Bible. That's our attempt to show that your religion self-destructs because your book affirms our book, which you just spent an entire video attacking and saying is a forgery. Guys, did Allah affirm the text that Christians still had in the 7th century?
Yes.
Did our friend Dawah Over Dunya think that that's a corrupt book filled with forgeries?
He thinks that.
So Allah orders us to judge by the gospel filled with lies and forgeries?
According to him.
How do you not see the problem here, Dawah Over Dunya? Oh, wait, you're going to lie and say, oh, no, when he he says, when he orders us to judge by the gospel, and he says we have no ground to stand upon unless we're standing upon the gospel, when he repeatedly says he's affirming what we have, what he